What is crack-a-lackin', fellow thermonuclear AFers? I am a thoroughly hungry Dan Favale, and we'll probably be saying that a lot over the next month around these parts. Joined by, as always, my certified fantabulous thermonuclear AF podcast host, Mr. Grant Hughes. We are here to talk about every NBA team's holiday wish list in advance of, or because we're in the midst of the holiday season. Very quick reminders. Please subscribe if you have not already. Hit the sub button on YouTube, like, comment on our videos, share our content. You can subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify. We beg you to juice up our ratings on both platforms. 5-star ratings, reviews on Apple go a long way. Follow us on the socials. Those are on the screen or in the podcast description. And join our Discord. The link to that is in the YouTube and podcast description as well. And just very quickly, I mentioned it the last podcast, but this is releasing on the Friday before before Christmas. So if you are traveling, if you are gathering with loved ones, if you are celebrating Christmas, if you are planning on celebrating New Year's, we wish you a very safe, happy, healthy celebration. And as always, thank you to every single one of you for the support and engagement that you give this podcast. It truly is, even when Grant and I aren't responding to as many messages as we typically do, it does mean the world that you're rocking with us here, which quietly, I didn't mention this because I didn't have time to do something special. HardwoodKnocks, and they're not all up because of where it started. Like there might be some deep state episodes buried like at the beginning that were only on YouTube. HardwoodKnocks is more than 1,000 episodes old.
Oh Grant. My God. That's so many episodes.
And it's very sad that we only have 3,000 YouTube subscribers, 1,000 episodes, 3,000 YouTube subscribers, but we're here. We love you all. Thank you for being with us. Grant, how the heck are you doing?
I'm just blown away that, I mean, I don't know how many I've been on, probably not 100, but.
Oh, you've been on.
You think? Maybe it's 100. But 1,000 episodes, that's insane.
You've been on the best 100.
Yeah, right. Well, that I knew. Yeah. All the top one, if we ranked them, I'm on every last one, just 1 through 99. And then Adam might be on one in there, maybe. I don't know, somewhere in the 80s. Maybe
the ones that will be at the bottom will be the ones I record by myself. Those are my least favorite episodes every single time.
I mean, that's true. You do juice the total numbers by doing the occasional 22-minute Draymond Green soliloquy. So, but I mean, hey,
I thought you were going to say you do juice the numbers by doing the team look aheads every. I was going to flip you off for saying that.
No, that is the only thing that's, I'm trying to think how to frame that. That's the only thing that's juicing is your path to an early grave because of the stress and the difficulty of doing those.
Yeah, I mean, we got to get rid of those. If we're still I got to get rid of those because they don't do anything for us.
We should do them in the format we're going to undertake today and that we did last week.
Segue.
Lightning round it. We're lightning rounding this thing, which is just, really is a testament to, it's really an indictment of our long-windedness and our other, because they're not really that much less informative than when we spend like 20 minutes per team. Doesn't seem like to me.
Really I do miss doing like the 8 to 9 minute deep dives per team, but those will come back. It's just you and I have worked on some stuff and we might as well collab on it for the podcast as well. And look, this is topical. Christmas is right around the corner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we do, we'll do 2 minutes per team on average. So I have the timer here to keep us paced. How did I approach this because I wanted to, and I know you wanted to differentiate from when we talked about every team's biggest need heading into the trade deadline. I kind of try to approach it from a fan's perspective of like what they should wish for, but also the team should wish for. And there's definitely overlap. Like some of the stuff you did for the trade deadline, because I spearheaded the West, you spearheaded the East. We that's what we're doing for this podcast. We flip-flop for the previous one. I try to approach it that way. And if there was an instance where I was like, it should probably be the same thing, but I'm not going to make it the same thing, I switched it up.
I'll pull back the curtain. I think basically my approach to stuff like this a lot of the time is, how do I package an overarching thought about this team that I maybe haven't articulated to fit the conceit of the assignment? So like, yeah, these are wish lists. So I'm going to frame it as maybe the thing I want to talk about is how this team should be wishing for a 3-and-D forward or whatever. So that's the case sometimes, but other times it's like the Bulls need clarity or something like that. I'd like to talk about that. So it still like fits into the this is what I guess the fan base perspective is a good way to think about it. Like, what should you, what do you hope your team is like seeking, or what does your team, what should your team want to get, under this sort of setup?
But we're also authoritarians, and so we're approaching
Yeah.
it as this is what you should want. We're not trying to
Right.
guess what you actually want.
Yeah, really, this podcast, all 1,000 episodes have been leading up to us just admitting our affinity for fascism and just wanting to tell people what they should want. So
Hey, that might get, I don't know, that might gain us some good Facebook followers.
it's hot right now. Yeah, we could definitely trend. The algorithm does. Maybe that's a problem. We haven't had enough authoritarian talk to really catch the attention of the algorithm. That's it.
Very quickly, you want to know where I thought you were going with your explainer when you said, I'll pull back the curtain? I tried to figure out how to get every team, and I thought you were going to say OG Anunoby.
That would be a fun, we should just, at some point.
Would you listen to, let us know in the comments or Discord, would you listen to a podcast where we pick one trade target, and what would every NBA team give up to trade for OG Anunoby?
You know what? We just really stepped on what should be the April 1st episode of this podcast. Like, just an April Fool's. It's like, hey, we're going to do a deep dive on every team's trade needs. And then we just do all 30 teams need OG Anunoby.
Doing that on April 1st is so weird. I guess some team seasons are like kind of over by that point, but the regular season's still going on and the trade deadline's passed. So I think they'd catch on.
Maybe. I don't know.
We can frame it as free agency. Every team's top free agent target.
Yeah, we should start thinking now about what our April Fool's pod will be. Although, well, we should cut this. We don't want anyone to know what we're going to do.
So we'll start. Grant and I will just be doing the teams that we were tasked with handling. We're gonna, because we're trying to live on the edge here, we are gonna go in reverse alphabetical order. How exciting is that?
Ooh. But we also have our slideshow to go off of, so we hopefully won't screw it up. I'm actually just going to read my first couple paragraphs because I was happy with them for the Washington Wizards. It's not the top of their wish list. Their wish list item is more fireworks. The Bradley Beal trade, which triggered a broad and long overdue teardown. I'm not going to do this for everyone. Meant the Washington Wizards were going to lose a ton of games this season. Failure wasn't just the expectation. It was the draft pick focused rebuild juicing goal. It would have been nice if Washington could have racked up L's in an entertaining way, though. That has just not been the case. This team is not good. They're not good in a super fun way. Jordan Poole's falling down a lot. That's interesting. Sometimes they throw alley-oops to each other, him and Kyle Kuzma off the backboard. That's cool too. But outside of Bilal Coulibaly, who we are both firmly in the bag for, this has just not been like an exciting, Kuzma has got 40 and Poole's got 40 and the Wizards are still down by 40. Like, it hasn't been that kind of season. So whatever form that takes, I just wish that the rebuild, great, needed to do it. I thought maybe that this season would be kind of fun in a, like, nobody cares, we're doing the right thing, we can lose badly and still have some entertaining basketball be played. It just hasn't been that. So they need some fireworks. They need Jordan Poole to kind of find his form of a couple years ago. They need Coulibaly to just play a ton and keep doing amazing athletic stuff every so often to just make the product a little more exciting, because the L's have been coming and will continue to come.
Will they come at Pistons level, though, is the real question.
I
will say, because we have like 30 seconds left on them, we are going to do every team's biggest regret from the last calendar year as we get into the new year. Is theirs trading for, like, you don't want to undo the restart of the rebuild, but is trading for Jordan Poole up there? Like, wouldn't you have rather, even if you had to buy out CP3 or try to keep him for like part of the season and flip him to a contender?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was going to be one. Maybe. I'm trying to think, like, I still haven't done all the research. Like, did they do the Beal extension in 2023? I don't think so. I think it was before that.
2022.
Yeah. Okay. So, like I said, haven't done all the research. But yeah, it might be just not handling the Chris Paul acquisition slash flip quite the right way. But that's going to be another podcast to pull back the curtain a little more. Let's see, Utah Jazz for you.
Yes. So I have veteran floor general. I think you could probably also go a little bit with clarity here because you have all these names in the trade rumor mill. And I think having veterans around is fine, but the Lauri Markkanen stuff specifically, if you're actually thinking about trading him or don't want to pay him, let's move on and then actually start. But I don't think they want to move on from him. So that's why I didn't pick that. I think Keontae George is going to be really good. He's injured right now, but he showed, no one talked about his passing and just game management, like the way that he's displayed it in the NBA when he was coming out of the draft. Clearly, they're still bottom 5 offense, though. They've had some bright moments with him. Jordan Clarkson is your second best passer. That is, he's actually made some leaps when he's been healthy, dealing with a thigh issue right now. And we've gotten these electric performances sometimes from Taylor Horton-Tucker or Colin Sexton. Go out there, get a veteran. I'm not saying it needs to be someone who's a long-term piece, but I'm not opposed to this team. We talked about this previously with them. Why don't you look at DeJounte Murray? Or if you really want to, like Tyus Jones, as just some sort of a stopgap. I think that their offense needs it because it helps streamline the development of, okay, we know what Larry Markkinen is, but we could, pull some of the weight off Keontae's shoulders, pull some of the weight off if Clarkson's still around, make life easier on Walker Kessler, maybe someone who does a better job sorting through our front court rotation. And also, I have to presume Taylor Hendricks is going to get more playing time at some point. And so I just want to see them get a more veteran offensive steward. And unlike a team where if it's the Spurs, I know they have Wemby, I wouldn't be like, go trade for, well, they already had DeJounte Murray, but don't go trade for this veteran point guard. I'm okay because the Jazz have so many extra firsts. If someone becomes available that isn't really on their timeline, but helps optimize their young talent, I'm all for them just getting after it.
Yeah, I agree. Just the underlying thing is don't get in the way of George. It doesn't have to be a long term. It's just, yeah, I agree. I think just someone to just organize it. Because
it doesn't need to be Trae Young, like that type of ball dominant.
Not at all. Not at all. Just, I mean, like Mike Conley, Mike Conley's even a higher end guy than they need. I'm joking because he was there. Obviously.
What about someone? I don't know why he's on maybe one of the best based off the way he's playing, like Kobe White.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, Kobe White's just kind of is he just a keeper now for the Bulls?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's just like, that's maybe unrealistic. So like they could literally run the gamut of point guard targets.
Yeah. So I got the Toronto Raptors next. It's kind of the same position essentially. So you could go a couple different ways. I think the emergence of Scotty Barnes as someone that you feel a little bit, increasingly, I guess, confident in as someone who can have the ball, make some decisions with it. It gives you this leeway. This is kind of a sort of loose relationship with what the Magic have with Banchero and Wagner, is like, you're going to get a lot of your shot creation there. So that opens up opportunities at the point. So you don't need like a pick and roll spammer at that spot. Dennis Schroeder's been a good acquisition, I think, but I would like someone that, in addition to being able to guard, maybe more than just the point guard spot, is going to get threes up without hesitation and scare the defense. Maybe run a second side pick and roll, attack weak side. You don't need just like the Jazz need a floor general. The Raptors, that's not what they should be after, because I think you can get some playmaking from other positions. So like, again, DeJounte Murray, this version of DeJounte Murray that's like an offense first player now, I think makes sense there. But you could just give me anyone that can play the combo guard spot that isn't necessarily a top option like facilitator, but can do that a little bit. But I think as much as anything will be like a high volume, 3-point shooter that can spread the floor around like this weird, our forwards are the playmakers kind of setup.
Would you be willing to give up stuff to get that player, or do you want it as part of we just traded Siakam or OG and this is?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like it's because some of what the wish list item depends on is the sort of odd forward heavy construction of the rest of the roster. So it's like, if you're going for DeJounte Murray, that's probably going to have to be Siakam, right? Or I mean, I would assume something like that. Anunoby is the easier fit, but I don't know how. Have we ever settled on like what Siakam's market is? If you say, hey, Hawks, give us Murray in a package for Siakam, like, is that just not going to happen?
Yeah, honestly, that shouldn't be a deal breaker for them, because how many ball dominant players do you want?
Yeah, right. No, I don't know. I just think I'm trying to think who else. Oh, I had a couple other lower end options, like Malcolm Brogdon would be someone. I don't know if you get the 3-point volume there, but the combo guard size, Terry Rozier, Spencer Dinwiddie. So you just got
Terry Rozier would be a really good one.
That's like a stopgappy a little bit, I guess, but that, that type of player you don't need. I'm trying to think of who's like they don't even really exist anymore. There's the pick and roll spamming point guard. You don't need like 2014 Chris Paul. Like you don't need that kind of type of player.
We are on to the San Antonio Spurs. And I don't know if you've seen this already, but Trey Jones starts or the acquisition of a primary initiator. I understand what the Spurs are trying to do with experimenting, and there's value in that. But I think you need to focus on optimizing your most important player, especially when you know that Devin Vassell is just going to get and make his tough shots. The lineup you're running out now with Malachi Branham in the starting five and Wemby as your center. I like the idea of Wemby as your starting center, but like you still just don't have enough from scratch creation in the half court. And just also, I'm not saying it needs to be Trey Jones, but like Victor Wembanyama's effective field goal percentage improves by about 10 points with Trey Jones on the court. And he's shooting like 60% on twos versus 46% on twos. Like that's the discrepancy there. That's fucking wild. So start Trey Jones or go out there and trade for Tyus Jones. Don't reacquire DeJounte Murray, but like go get another, just someone who could kind of sort of organize your offense. Like it needs to be someone better than a Javon Carter, who's like more of a playmaker there. But like, let's just get a name in there. And it doesn't have to be like, I don't think you're going to need to give up maybe you have to give up that fake Charlotte first to get them. There will be someone out there that I think you can look at in that realm. And the Spurs need it to optimize their most important player. Again, if they're just against for some reason, like, why not just take a shot then on Killian Hayes? Like, just at least prove to me that you're trying to put someone who plays the point guard spot in there. And even like if Monte Morris gets healthy in Detroit, I'd like to see them do something like that.
The point guard thing with the Spurs, like, I think we were both pretty on board with like, what the hell? Let's try Jeremy Sohan at point. What do you got to lose? And then like, while acknowledging people that were saying, yeah, but that's kind of getting in the way of the development of like literally everyone else that is on the floor at the same time. Right now, it feels almost like what is the thinking? Like why? Well, like why mess around to this degree with especially with respect to Wembanyama, who like you've cited the numbers. Like it's not just like a theoretical thing that life gets easier for him and others when you have a real point guard on the floor. It's getting strange. I don't have a great explanation for it.
Our next team up is the Sacramento Kings, which is also me. Wow, we need to pace it up here. We're really screwing up already. Shocker. All right, it's wing defense or at least no Zach LaVine trade. I saw Kings fans gave pushback to the wing defense argument because you have Keegan Murray. That's fine. You need someone else other than Keegan Murray, even someone else other than De'Aaron Fox, who's defended well this year. I think that we've talked about the OG Anunoby team, but they could go after a Jayshawn Tate, like that type of player where it doesn't need to be a caps lock star or someone who's star adjacent. Like you can look at that, and I think they would make a meaningful difference. Maybe if it's even someone who maybe you're not closing games with them. It's just someone you're using situationally to improve your first 43 minutes of basketball. You go thermonuclear with your offense to close. I will say though, if you're not going to go out and acquire a wing defender, do not go out and acquire Zach LaVine or even Pascal Siakam. I don't want to see someone who doesn't stretch the floor consistently in the front court with Sabonis. And I also don't want to see you give up assets for someone like Zach LaVine who doesn't address your biggest need. And then it costs you stuff that you could have then used to try and address that biggest need later on.
Yeah. Zach LaVine ain't it. Not for this team. We're West heavy. You've got so many West teams in a row here.
Yeah, timestamping this is going to be a bear. Try to just have to work off memory. The Portland Trailblazers. So for them, this one's kind of tough, but I think they need to clear the runway for the kids. Now that they're sort of healthier, I think we're seeing that there's going to be times where I don't know if it's an issue of, well, this is how Joe Cronin built the roster or Chauncey Billups just isn't getting the message from the front office. But like we shouldn't see Malcolm Brogdon playing more minutes than Scoot Henderson maybe ever. And when you are playing Malcolm Brogdon, we've seen kind of Shaedon Sharpe's usage and utility and offensive role fluctuate. Jeremy Grant has played really well for them, and I'm mostly fine with what he's doing. But when you have the sum of it being, well, Jeremy Grant is getting minutes, and we're still going to play DeAndre Ayton since Robert Williams III is injured, we don't really have a long-term center to evaluate unless you think Dwop Reith is that kind of answer. I just need to see you clear the deck more, specifically for Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe. That comes back to Brogdon, but it could also involve Jeremy Grant a little bit if you're not going to move Brogdon. And so I don't know who to blame for this, but I do think that fourth quarter we saw against Golden State on December 17th typifies the problem where Brogdon's playing the entire corner and too much is just running sort of through him. And again, even Grant on certain nights. So I'd like to see them just clear the runway more for Scoot and Sharpe specifically. Nothing to add on that.
I think you're right.
It's always great when you're in agreement. Our next team up is the Phoenix Suns. Actual big 3 minutes would be nice. And maybe fewer turnovers because they are 24th in turnover rate and only the Utah Jazz turn the ball over more in fourth quarters. Now, I think this comes back to two issues. Do they have an offensive organizer that you trust to bring that turnover rate down? Yes, the answer is Devin Booker, even if he's not having some of his best performances. I also think just getting Bradley Beal back having the big three simplifies your decision-making tree. When you look at some of the turnovers that have been committed by their big men, their lower usage wings, just having Bradley Beal available takes the ball out of their hands for certain amounts of time or possessions. And we've already mentioned this. The big three has played 24 minutes together across 2 appearances. That's not going to change before 2024 because of the Bradley Beal back injury. And I still have confidence in this team when you get into their lineup data and just based off kind of what we've seen in the very sparing minutes with all 3 on the court, they will be fine. You need them all to be healthy. And that's not really a guarantee at this point. So you need to wish that it will be come playoff time because you don't have the trade ammo to go out there and make a meaningful acquisition. Could you get a backup big? Could you get another wing? I've seen like the fact that Suns fans are just lusting after Sadiq Bey. And it's kind of like, all right, Sadiq Bey's not it, guys. Like, it's just, it's not, like Sadiq Bey's not, if you think he's an upgrade over Nas or Josh Okogie, I get it. But like, he's not the answer.
All right, I'm going to power us through the Sixers so you have some time to go back and timestamp if you need to. I actually have kind of 2 items. One I actually wrote about and one I thought of more recently when I heard the afterthought is they need more double agents because I heard someone explain, I'm sorry, I forget who it was, this idea that Nick Nurse's Raptors relentlessly doubled Joel Embiid and gave him just hell. He was, turned it over. That was always regarded as the weakest part of his game. And now that Nick Nurse is the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, for whom Joel Embiid plays, he's handling double teams exceptionally well relative to how he used to, and he's averaging a career high in assists. So, like, they brought over the coach that gave him the hardest time, and it's like, well, so here's what I used to do. Here's how you can combat that. And it's sort of like they fixed Joel Embiid's biggest weakness.
Counterpoint, they did try doing that once with Al Horford and it didn't go so well.
That's true. So you got to be careful which double agents you pick. But the broader thing is their wish list should have better market conditions on it because this is a team, Daryl Morey said, and I'm quoting, what we're attempting to do is have the best team possible this year, but also have the ability that if we get into a next season situation to be very unique, to be a very unique team with the most cap space of a team that's as good as us. That was comments he gave like over the summer talking about the James Harden trade. This is a team with $55 million in cap space, legitimate trade assets, and like Zach LaVine's available. So cool. And, you could go for OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, all the usual suspects, or you could just sign those guys.
Raptors double agents, though? Like, don't you kind of want to?
It might be too many double agents. That's true. If you like, is it like negative numbers where they cancel each other out or become positive?
Well, no, I meant just like if you want all these double agents, should they come from separate teams so that you have different intel?
Oh, I see. Broaden the scope of your double agents. That, you know what? That's why I'm glad I podcast with you because you come up with things I don't think of. Basically, it's tricky now because the Sixers have like all of the various avenues to improvement that Daryl Morey wanted and like kind of miraculously was able to accumulate. And it's like the guys that they could go get right now just don't feel like a big enough difference maker to justify the effort or the expenditure. And they also don't want to compromise long-term cap space. They don't want to have to give up a bunch. So I just wish that there were more options on the market to go get that third star or to make the move that could really put the Sixers from like the 1A tier of contenders into just the full on, upper level.
I'm with you. I think that's a great need for them. It's just, I don't know who the player is. If I even said, I wish this player was available for them.
That's the thing.
I want to see them get meetings with like Kawhi and Paul George over the summer. It would be really funny if those two don't sign an extension. That's where
you could just say it should be OG Anunoby and move on since that's always the answer. So I have the Orlando Magic next. 3-point shooting. This team, I talked a little bit about them in the context of the Raptors. Like the forwards do a lot of the playmaking, which means your guards really kind of a lot of time just need to space the floor and be threats. They're dead last as a team in percentage of shots that come from 3, and they make them at a clip that ranks 26th. So they don't get up enough threes, the Magic, and they don't make enough threes. And that's with like Joe Ingles is over 40%, Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, and Banchero are all over 37%. None of them get up more than 5 threes a game. So like, I guess if you scale up those guys' volume, maybe your percentage goes down, and that's not so super helpful. I think I would honestly I would just prefer we just see what happens if Jalen Suggs took 8 threes a game or something like that before you go out looking for someone, because I like so much of what the guys I just
Wow,
mentioned
you've really come full
provide.
circle on Jalen Suggs.
Look, if he's going to make threes at like high volume, I mean, he's not a good passer. He's not a conventional point guard. That's just what it's going to be. But like, he is useful if he's going to make threes. But again, the Magic they shoot fewer than anybody in the league in terms of percentage of their field goal attempts. Like, that's just, you're leaving money on the table when you have forwards that can just, be your primary initiators, get to the basket, play make, that kind of thing. So this is like maybe one of the most basic wish list items we can have because the need is so obvious.
They should look at in free agency and around the trade market. What does it cost to get them Emmanuel quickly? 11.2 3-point attempts per 100 possessions, and he's hitting them at a 37% clip.
Get him up.
And we are on to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, there's a bunch of different ways I could have gone here. I think a lot of fans will wish that Josh Giddey will play better. I have flip-flopped on Giddey, but that just emboldens me to believe that on the court, he is basically their version of RJ Barrett, where there's just going to be these ups and downs, flickers and flashes of promise. Is it ever going to sustain? It's not going to probably work out unless you tailor the roster perfectly to his skill set. So I just didn't feel like he might have good stretches. I didn't want to waste my wish on that. I'm a Thunder fan. The other thing is, can you acquire shooting or some front court heft or bounce? My issue there is absolutely wish for that, but recognize that because you have Dort, because you have SGA, because you have Chet, because you have Jalen Williams, that's top 4 of your spots gone. And it's like, well, we have Isaiah Joe and Kenrich Williams. And so now you start getting into this fact, like, well, we need someone who's going to crack the top 6 or 7. That's a pretty tall order from a team that has been pretty big trade averse other than to tear it down or when they made the Paul George acquisition. So I settled on maybe some more victories against good teams. They did have that overtime win over the Nuggets. I think that was on, what was that, Saturday or Sunday? I was watching that. They have that level, but they're 4-6 against teams in the West with a winning record. And so it's just, you're there, you're contending for a top 2 seed. You are one of the best teams in the league by your vitals, top 5-point differential. But like, let's rack up more of those victories so that you can make your arrival come beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I'm saying this mostly because I don't expect their core to make a material change that would account for the other wishes that I could have just outlined.
I mean, it's just, it's nice at least that we have a knock to level level against the Thunder.
We just can't say bad things about the Thunder on the court. It just gets very hard.
Yeah, it's like
they're squishy. Their starting lineups offense can be a little squishy, but that comes back to Giddey, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 3 years ahead of schedule. We got to find a nit to pick. So for the Knicks, I mean, now you might say they need some centers because they're all hurt. But I
know a guy. You get it? You get it?
Why haven't you programmed the Chris Boucher button? Like, you could, even in the video, like make his face pop.
No,
up.
did you? I was talking about Noah. I know a guy.
Noah who? Vonleh?
I Joakim Noah a guy.
You think he's coming back? I mean,
hope so.
Tibbs went to the Taj Gibson well. Why not? So for the Knicks, I think their wish list should include an upgrade button for RJ Barrett, or maybe a button that allows him to be playable in fourth quarters, because that's not happening very much anymore. That's a little bit distressing. You have spoken many times and with great knowledge and passion about how like his whole developmental arc is just so confounding, talking about Barrett, because sometimes the 3-point shooting's there. Sometimes the defense looks like it's there. Sometimes it's just impossible to imagine him fitting on a good team because he's such a weird niche player. So I'm just going to press the meme upgrade button and make him into a big wing / combo forward who can defend opposing top options at multiple positions and can consistently make a bunch of threes and threaten defenses from out there. I'm describing OG Anunoby, I feel like, and if so, drink everybody, I guess, is the game.
I know you're talking about Chris Boucher for what it's worth.
Well, you always think that. It's all you hear when anyone talks is Chris Boucher's name being repeated over and over. We have a few seconds, I imagine. Where are you on the RJ Barrett experience right now today?
I mean, if I have to pick out, if it always seemed like it was going to come down to a choice between him or Randall, and at this point, like, I am ready to choose Julius Randle, and I've been on the probably choose RJ. OG would be perfect for them. It just seems like they need to set their sights on someone else because I don't know that they would have the best offer if he does.
Yeah. Well,
become
the other
available.
thing we always have to talk about, and this is a point you raised and I repeat it all the time, they still kind of need someone who's better than everyone they have, right? If you really want to get down to it, like, or at least as good as Jalen Brunson. Maybe I
Right.
think we've downgraded to that, right?
I think, you know who might be interesting and his pay grade is just so bad and it can't be done to the offseason? Like Jaylen Brown on
Oh,
this team?
yeah.
Does that do anything
Interesting.
for you?
He's someone that's like, well, I don't know that he's as good as Jalen Brunson. I think he doesn't meet the
That's what I'm saying.
criteria.
It's like he's comparable though.
He's
And just
close.
like you simplify his offense, like Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, would they be the 2 of the 3 best passers on the Celtics? Probably, right?
I guess. I mean, I think so. I don't know who is the best passer on the Celtics.
It's Drew Holiday or Tatum.
It's
I
not
mean, I
great.
guess Pritchard, but he's not playing like huge minutes.
Yeah, don't love
Derek
it.
White.
Yeah, Derek White can do anything as far as I'm concerned.
Am I next up? My bad. The New Orleans Pelicans. I have more threes, please. And I'm pretty disappointed because Trey Murphy's jacking them up. And they are still 20. They were 27th in 3-point attempt rate when Trey Murphy III came back. They're 27th in 3-point attempt rate since he returned. That's disappointing to me. Their 3-point attempt rate increases by like 7% when he's on the court. But like they need to take more threes. I think especially because the way that they've just been inconsistent with how they use Zion. And if you're not always going to be a good rim protecting or defensive team on a given night, like you need to kind of just give yourself a larger cushion for error. Getting up more threes and making them could do that. Now, here's the issue. They run into the same thing as the Thunder. If you're saying go acquire this guy, and also if you want a rim protector who also spaces the floor either with his screens or actually shoots, it has to be a player who is going to be better than like being there. Even being in their top 7 is hard because they have like Jonas Valanciunas is good. You have Zion, you have CJ, you have Brandon Ingram, you have Herb Jones, you have Trey Murphy. So it's like at minimum, you need their next guy to be better than Jose Alvarado, Dyson Daniels, a healthy Larry Nance Jr. I'm looking at the roster, and this is probably just a roundabout way of me calling out Brandon Ingram, just because Jonas is not going to take more threes. He's hitting them, but even if he takes more, I don't think defenses take him seriously. Zion is a non-shooter. I could probably be talked into Herb Jones juicing up his volume, but like CJ and Trey are already over 10 attempts per 100 possessions. Brandon Ingram is at basically 6 per 100. That ranks 75th out of 105 players who have a usage rate above 20. And so the fact that he's taking under 6 attempts per 100 possessions, it just needs to change. And take this, Pelicans fans, if you're angry about it, as me nitpicking, because I think this team, when healthy, has the potential to be so good. Like we all know that I ride or die with the Pelicans. I did come close to dying earlier this season, or at least jumping off the bandwagon, but I held on and I'm happy I did. I think their offense needs that different volume level of scoring.
Yeah, I think that's right. It just like, I don't know what the explanation for Ingram not taking more threes is. Like his first, second, and third thought are always just like get to the elbow and rise up, more or less. And it's just like that can't be it, especially if you're playing with Zion. That can't be it.
Oh my God, is it still me? I'm really just not paying attention to the alphabet right now. The Minnesota Timberwolves, speaking of nitpicking, because there's just not much to say about this team, maybe better off-court decision-making from Anthony Edwards. That's fair game. But I think they need a backup point guard type who preferably will juice up their three-point volume. We've seen them be shaky on offense at times. The non-Ant minutes are a disaster, even when Mike Conley's on the floor. Can they get someone who, even if they're not a facilitator, because I think you can get the points where it's, well, we have the ability to stagger Conley. We can put Kyle Anderson on the court. He's a good passer. So just get someone who's going to come in, get up threes, and can maybe handle the ball a little bit. I've cited Javon Carter a bunch. Alec Burks would make a lot of sense for this team. And you can, in theory, get to the money for either of those guys that I just mentioned without giving up, I'll call it your, core 7, where you're looking at Naz Reid and Anderson coming off the bench. You have Troy Brown Jr.'s money. You have Shake Milton. That gets you to about $8 million. So you can take back a little bit more than that. I don't know if that quite gets you to Burks, but that's enough for Javon Carter, right? I think you actually only need, you might need Shake and a smaller salary for Javon Carter. You have some seconds that you could give up. That type of acquisition, I don't know if it makes you, if you're out on the Timberwolves as a contender because of the dual big setup and you don't think it'll fare well in playoff matchups, there's nothing that could be done for them on the trade market because they're not breaking up this core's been so good. And I happen to believe in them, their playoff stock. So I just think this type of tweak, and even if it's not going to be a backup point guard, if it's someone who can come in and be in the top 7, 8 of your rotation and get up threes, I think that really opens up your offense.
Yeah, we've I don't know if we coined it, but we've definitely had a few I have no notes teams over the years. It used to be the Bucks, might be the Celtics right now. I think as far as the regular season goes, I think I have no notes for the Timberwolves other than like, well, if Mike Conley gets hurt, they're in trouble there. But like, I don't know, is that a note? Like, oh, if a starter gets hurt, like, yeah, of course, that's true for every team. So
right.
I was very curious to see what you have the correct item here, I think.
They're weird in the sense that I know they have depth, but it feels like a lot of regular season depth. And so they're weird in the sense, like, if you take away any one of their starters, almost, like if you took away Gobert, if you took away Conley, if you took away Edwards, and I think long-term, if you like took away Jaden McDaniels from it, and I know he's missed time this year, like it feels like they're almost fucked type deal, which is a weird thing to say about what's been the best team in the league and which feels deep on paper. Maybe I went one player too far, but certainly losing Conley, Ant, or Gobert feels like it would verge on dire.
Yeah, right. It changes everything about what they're doing.
And I'm not trolling Karl Anthony Towns. It's just that they have Naz Reid, and so it's just you're fine.
I mean, that is the spot where Naz Reid is like very much. I don't know if I guess you have to say he's the poor man's cat, but like he does a lot of the same stuff. I have the Milwaukee Bucks coming up next. Their wish list includes a head start, and this is all in reference to their transition defense being like inexplicably, confoundingly terrible. So my theory for them, or my suggestion, is just like, if you think it's time to run back, it's already too late. So just like dial that back like 3 seconds before you think it's time to run back on defense. Like, it's so bizarre. This team does not offensive rebound. So it's not like they're throwing all their bodies at the glass and that's why they're not getting back. The stat that blew me away: opponents get transition opportunities on 40.7% of live rebounds. For some context, the second most generous team in that stat is the 76ers. They allow runouts on 34.9% of live rebounds. That's closer to the middle of the pack than it is to the Bucks. So it's like the gap between Milwaukee and everyone else in this on just like how often teams get out on the break on a live rebound is like, it's staggering. And it's not like this is a young team. It's not like this is a lazy team. Like, Giannis plays really hard and that sets the tone for them. It can't just be Dame. Like, if it were one guy, we would have isolated it and said like, hey, Dame, just stay at the logo. Like, and just start if you shoot it from there, just stay there and then backpedal a little bit. So I don't have an answer. It's such a glaring weakness that it could only be this for their wish list item. Just the ability to get back if you want to not be like quite as cute about it.
Two things on that though, and I'm not sure the numbers have changed. They've actually been an above average transition defense when you look at points allowed per possession, but it's because opponents get out so frequently. I think playing Andre Jackson Jr. more is a good thing. Play Marjon Beauchamp more. The fans that are lusting after Alex Caruso, I don't even think if you did Connaughton and Beauchamp in seconds, that's going to be anywhere close to the best offer for Caruso.
No, I don't. And
the Bulls guard you probably could get is a reunion with Javon Carter.
Yeah.
Or Ayo Dosunmu would still be interesting on this team.
Yeah, let's pluck all the Bulls. I just like pick one. What if you just said, Bulls, give us like one of them. Just don't tell us which. We'll give you Marjon Beauchamp. Just surprise us. And it would be helpful.
Up Beauchamp for Carter or Dosunmu, I don't think.
No, probably not. I just like it. I don't understand how a veteran team, like, I want to put it on Adrian Griffin somehow. Like, this must be your fault. I don't know how. I don't know why, but it's just because I don't have a better explanation.
You know what? Honestly, this is so divergent, and it's going to be longer. And this should probably be their biggest regret. I think we're giving you the East. They should have told and informed Jrue Holiday about the Damian Lillard trade, because then they could have probably controlled where he went, and it wouldn't have been Boston.
Yeah, right.
And like that's kind of impacted their transition defense just as much as not having like their championship, just as much as not having Jrue Holiday. You sent him to your biggest threat, or didn't send him, but he ended up on the biggest threat to your conference.
Yeah, right. It's like a compounding error, basically. It's like it just makes the one thing even worse than it would have been had you just lost him for like if you just sent Jrue Holiday like into the ether. That's bad. but it's like doubly bad that he's on the team that's probably going to beat you in a playoff series. I have the Heat next. So just this as evidence that this will just not always be we need a 3-and-D winger or point guard. The Heat's wish list item is new city edition jerseys, because these Heat culture jerseys are trash and I hate them. And worse than that, because this isn't just a fashion podcast, it like the idea that you're putting culture underneath Heat on these jerseys. I'm sure everybody's seen these, and it's bigger than the word Heat. It's so antithetical to like what Heat culture sort of is supposed to be, which is like, they used to have the hype video during the Heatles era, which is like the most anti-Heat culture thing ever, but where it's like there's flames and they're all training and they're like hitting tires with sledgehammers and like they're carrying big links of chain while they do like push the sled, and they're working harder than everybody. And Jimmy Butler now is in the gym at 4 a.m. and all this stuff. Like, we concoct role players out of nothing because we just like beat them senseless at workouts and all that. We're more professional. We work harder. We all this stuff. And it's like, and now we're advertising it. Now it's branding. Now it's like so cheapened and sullied by this stupid Heat culture jersey. And they have like the mantra that they put in the lane on their in-season tournament court. Like, I just hate it. It feels like the Heat are great. Like, they do all this stuff. I just hate that in a world where everyone is marketing their brand, like the Heat have taken this thing that's really awesome about themselves and cheapened it by just being like, here's our brand identity. Check it out. Don't like it. Get new city jerseys that don't say culture on it. That's all.
Go off. I'm
That's
not going to add anything to that. We're just going to go to the Memphis Grizzlies. Full strength availability, or I should say full-ish strength, because you're not going to get Steven Adams or Brandon Clark back this season in all likelihood. John Moran is already back. That's great. Marcus Smart's apparently coming back from a foot injury soon. Luke Kennard's missed a bunch of time, most of the season, actually. He's still dealing with that bone bruise in his knee, and he's dealt with like tendonitis in both his knees, I believe. That's something to watch. I still tend to believe what they did to the Pelicans on Tuesday night. That was a fun game. I know Pelicans fans were really ticked off at the refs. Grant, they're like 6 games out of the play-in in the loss column right now. That's just so many to make up even this point of the season. And it's like, well, which team are you leapfrogging? I guess the Rockets could fall off a bunch, but the Warriors probably won't continue to plunge. So this season feels gone. I'm more about like, hey, let's see, can you get a sample off which to judge Triple J, Marcus Smart, John Morant, and Desmond Bane together to see what you have? Because what you really want to wish for is you still need the wing of the future, unless you think it's he's been great, but he's undersized, Vince Williams. And it's not Zaire Williams as much as we like want it to be or wanted it to be. So I just, you want to get healthier to see, without us doing anything, can we make the play-in, make a run, or can we at least know whether this works or not? Because if you can get so let's just say Smart is back by January. That gives you like a month. If you decide, hey, this really isn't working, you can still move Smart around the deadline and see if you can get back any of the value that you gave up to get him.
I caught myself in the exuberance of John Morant's game winner thinking like, all right, maybe Memphis is going to get up to something. And then I saw the stat or the explanation that like to get to 41-41, they need to play at a 50-win pace immediately and for the rest of the season. And it's like, no Adams, no Clark.
Not impossible, but it's
not impossible, but that's a tall order. Like, I mean, especially if you assume Smart is, going to be not quite the same, or will continue to decline or get hurt again.
I think I'm just very interested what he was bad on offense, just turning the ball. He can't be like even your second ball handler. And so now that he's your third, maybe that changes things. We are on to the Los Angeles Lakers. This is going to surprise no one. They need another offensive outlet. I fall short of saying a star just because I like Zach LaVine for this team, I think, more than their fans do. But I think their fans are also married to Rui Hachimura. And basically your offer has to be D'Lo, Rui, and stuff to get this done. The non-LeBron minutes are bad. And there are just moments, even when he's on the court, where they look clumpy inside the half court. And you need more three-point volume. They're hovering around the bottom 5 of both three-point attempt rate and efficiency. Grant, that is not good.
Not great.
So like you're too dependent on LeBron being superhuman. Will Anthony Davis go off? Even if it's not his jumper, like, is he going to finish as frequently as he has been at certain points? I liked what I saw a lot from D'Lo during this like 2 to 3 week stretch, and I'm not out on him, but it's okay. I understand why his contract is structured the way it is. Again, I did this last year, by the way. I won't learn. I ridiculed the Wolves for the Conley trade because I thought D'Lo was it. And so I like to own up to my mistakes. That was one of my more egregious ones. But it doesn't have to. I like Zach LaVine, but it can be I'm not talking DeMar DeRozan. He doesn't nudge up your 3-point volume enough. I know they're obsessed with getting back Alex Caruso. He doesn't nudge up your 3-point volume enough. Bojan Bogdanovic. Am I out of Bogdanoviches? What else is there? You're not going to have the best offer for Larry Marketing. Would you have I don't think Kyle Kuzma gives you enough of the volume, but and it needs to probably come at that position. I guess they can be a guard. You have a lot of size, so it can be it can come probably at the anywhere between the 1 or the 4.
Yeah.
I guess if you wanted a floor spacing 5 who could defend next to Davis, but I just described who out of nobody in the league right now. So I think that's what they need. It could even be as simple as do they take a flyer on Gary Trent Jr., who's not been good this year and does getting off of Russell's money? I don't think they'd give up Rui for Gary Trent Jr., even though I'm not crazy about that contract, but they just need to increase their, it doesn't have to be an offensive lifeline. There needs to be another offensive outlet here.
Yeah. I mean, I think they missed the boat on him, but Buddy Hield is the exact player type that
it's funny how we went from Buddy Hield request trade to is Buddy Hield not is he going to resign in Indiana at this point? What?
Now it's fun to be a Pacer, so nobody wants to leave.
Oh my God, it's still me. The Clippers, they exactly what's happening now. I'm not adding anything to the equation. The stuff that they could do on the trade market, or maybe they should lower certain players' playing time or certain units' playing time. No, what we're watching right now, the Clippers have basically just never lost since they lost those immediate 5 games since the James Harden sweepstakes. They are actually during that time, they've won 9 straight and 14 of their last 17. They're top 5 in offensive defense during that span. Kawhi Leonard looks like an MVP candidate. James Harden is meshing, gelling, working off the ball, has great chemistry with Ivica Zubac. Zubac has been great for them, by the way. Norman Powell's been great to sort of amplify the stars. Terrence Mann is still good. I love this team as it is healthy. But we mentioned this on our news and update podcast. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have missed a combined 1 game. That seems to suggest, based off the previous track record, they are operating on borrowed time. I hope, if you're a fan, hope that they're not, because this team, exact team, right now, if they're healthy, they don't have to win 14 of 17 all the time. They are one of the most dangerous contenders in the league. That is what they look like right now. The only thing that could derail them, it's not even James Harden's playoff track record, because this is insulation, unlike he's never had it in Brooklyn, just because they weren't available. This exact team right here, right now, as healthy as they are, I don't even need Mason Plumlee back. Wish for exactly more of what you're seeing.
I mean, this is proof of concept in a lot of ways. And it's also not surprising. What's surprising is that everybody has stayed healthy enough for this to work. But this was the theory of the team. We get these 2 guys, we put the right pieces around them, and then we're going to be great. And they are great. We've talked about this before in a different way. This is also still a wake me up in April team, but in a different way. This is cool
to see how many of
everybody's still standing by the time we get there.
I do hope that our comments post trade align with what you just said. I don't think we were one of the podcasts that dumped all over it. We probably recognized it. I hope we recognized there was risk, but understood it. I'd be curious to know what we said. I already forgot, but
chances are I probably shit all over the Harden trade, but I don't know. Maybe I
probably threw some shade at Jalen Suggs and Magic fans while you were
probably. At it. I hope I equivocated. I do tend to do that. I'm going to give you a break because we're on to an Eastern Conference team, but just for a second.
I hope you're ramping up. You have a marathon to close this podcast.
I know. It's good. I'm going on a big run here to close it. So the Indiana Pacers wish list, a moment to reflect and just appreciate that you have what I think is a generational offensive culture setter, floor raiser, whatever you want to call it, in Tyrese Halliburton. And granted, things have not been so great since the in-season tournament. I'm definitely riding the high of how the Pacers played leading into the tournament and during it. But it's also just Halliburton is not, it's not like he's just had a hot couple weeks. This is what he's done this season. This is what he was hinting at the year before. I think, you try to go through and think about guys who completely change how an organization is viewed, how it plays, that make everybody better. you could talk about the stats, like Pacers offense is 9 per 100 better when he's on the floor this year. It was 7.1 better last year. Those are both 90th percentile, on off split impacts. He's elite. The stats show it as an offensive, like, again, tone setter, floor raiser, what do you want to call it? But like guys like this are super rare. And so Pacers fans just like, yeah, your team can't defend. Yeah, you're several pieces away from really being a legit, like, we're going to win some playoff rounds. But like, the guys that do what Halliburton has done, you can count them on one hand. Like, there just aren't, like, this is Nash in Phoenix. This is Jokic now. This is Curry a few like years ago in a different way, because he's not like a pass first player per se. But like, there's just something special. We should all just enjoy it. Like, I just think if you're not seeing the parallels between Halliburton and like past, culture changing offensive greats, like, you're missing it. Because I think he just does have that, like, hard to quantify it, even though I just gave you numbers that kind of quantify what he does offensively.
Here's the problem. In the 120 seconds you just took to talk about that, the Pacers just allowed another team to get to the rim or knock down a shot from floater range. And so that's why you can't take a moment to reflect, because your defense doesn't have any time.
Not a defensive culture setter, to be clear.
The Houston Rockets, they need Jalen Green to not suck, basically. And we've seen some numbers. I don't want to go through them here. It'll take too long, and you could go read the piece for more of them, but just like his efficiency inside and beyond the arc is down. This is not someone, he is gone. I disagree that Jalen Green can't be better, because we've seen him go basically in each of his first 2 years in the league. There's that latter half of the season, he just goes on these scorchers where he is super efficient on these off the dribble jumpers. So there's that element of he can be better, but he seems displaced from this offense. They've taken out a lot of the two-man stuff he ran with Alperen Şengün in favor of, okay, now Fred VanVleet is there. But like, Fred VanVleet isn't someone who conventionally infringes upon what others are doing. And Jalen Green has been unable to assimilate properly. The efficiency's not there. He's not giving it to you on defense. I think in part, by the way, because he is small. Like, he's 6'4", and a lot of people forget that. I think just when I look at him, I feel like there should be a complementary player there. Someone who's not sort of has to be the bones of your entire offense. But even if he is that player who needs to be the bones of your entire offense, he's not good enough. And so if you're a Rockets fan, you're wishing for him to be better, more complimentary, or for the Rockets to reach a revelation of some sort very soon so that you could potentially still capitalize on his trade value. Because right now, when you look at for all the options the Rockets have, if I ask you, who are the foundational, can't move, have to keep pieces for this team, there's Alperen Şengün.
That might be it.
That might be it. And that's, look, we just haven't seen Amen Thompson. So the draft equity implies, no, you can't get rid of him or Green or Jabari Smith Jr. But now that shit's starting to add up and compound upon each other. And so you need more answers from Jalen Green. I actually do believe he could be better. I just don't know if he needs to have more agency over the offense to be better. I don't necessarily think that's going to be his best role. I do see someone who doesn't have the same level of athleticism, but like someone who could be a Zach LaVine. Like some of the best elements of Zach LaVine on offense, I could see him being that.
I think that's right. I wonder sometimes if Green is like, hey, here's what happens when your first 2 years in the league are in like a lawless, unstructured environment where it's like the Rockets they just got to do whatever they wanted. Turn it over, 30 times a game. Cool. That's what that I want. And he's not the last holdover from that, but like, he's definitely representative of how guys just were not developing because there was no structure or like accountability at all. And he just hasn't, like, he's still young. He's 21 still, which is crazy. But like, this is year 3. You can't be having your points per shot attempt declining every year since you're a rookie and your usage rate going up. Like, that's just like, this isn't going to cut it. Let's see.
The Golden State Warriors better play at the top, which could technically be inaccurate if you consider that Trace Jackson Davis is now their second best player. Like, you don't really need better play for him. But aside from Steph Curry, the starting lineup guys should be starting lineup guys. I know there's been changes, have been a disaster. Klay Thompson is shooting better, but he can still look like he's pressing on offense. He's never going to be the same on defense. I don't think he's like an atrocity. I actually think a lot of this season, you've watched more of the Warriors than I have. Like, Andrew Wiggins has probably been more detrimental to them than Klay Thompson.
No question. Okay. It's not close.
speaking of which, so when you look at Draymond Green, I think he's still transformative on defense, and he's hitting threes this year. I can't explain it. They're above the break threes too. However, he needs to stay on the court. Like, it's just, we're already working through he's going to be suspended. There's a chance that he ends up being suspended for more games than Ja Morant this year. Like, that is on the table. So those two. Oh, so with Draymond, it's okay. If he comes back, he should be better as long as he's playing. Klay Thompson, 33, just like Draymond, and his game is just like what you needed him to do on defense, never going to be the same. Andrew Wiggins, he's 27, 28, around there. Yeah, he's not in the back end of his prime, but we actually have basically a decade's worth of evidence that he is not the guy that the Warriors thought that they re-signed. So that's a problem. Kevon Looney looks like he's tending to a cinder block garden this year. Just, I don't know what's up with him. And then, those are big issues because this was supposed to be, or it was one of the most effective 5-man units in the league last year. Yes, you can make changes to the starting 5, but now you're taking away from a bench that has been your bright spot there. And so the Warriors have to ask themselves, are these age-related declines or regressions in Andrew Wiggins' case to the normal that can't be reversed, or will they be reversed? And if the answer is no, they can't be reversed, do you have the guts, the gall, to go out there and make a trade for someone who will give you better play at the top of your rotation? Because that's going to require not just giving up assets, but probably it's going to require making one, if not two, awkward decisions. And I think a lot of people will be, well, they won't have a problem moving Andrew Wiggins or Chris Paul. You can make the case that they're going to be a lot worse if they move Chris Paul when you're looking at someone you want to manage the game. So I hope, because I love Steph Curry and he is still a transformative player, that they do go out and make a trade, because I don't think this could be reversed. I understand the emotional complexities of getting into Klay Thompson and Draymond Green trade scenarios at this point. But you should absolutely have Andrew Wiggins then and stuff on the table to go out and improve the top of your roster.
Yeah, I would just say the one thing that was not a foreseeable or within the organization issue for the team this year was the starting 5 not being good. And that is what
all of
happened.
them just, well, except for Steph, just sort of imploding.
Yeah, that. And in hindsight, maybe that's irrational, because Looney is someone he's got the longest active games played streak after just.
That's what when I watch him, I'm just because he used to be injured all the time, and then he just became this Iron Man. I'm like, that dude looks like he needed some time off.
He needs a couple weeks off. I think that's right. And then Klay, of course, was going to regress. Maybe this should have been a little more foreseeable. You're not going to change your offseason roster construction plans around it, but this was not the thing that they thought would be an issue. I have the Detroit Pistons. Dan, do you want to guess what their wish list item is? It's the simplest one on the board. They need a win. There's a decent chance that this sounds ridiculous because they might beat the Jazz in their next game, and you might hear this podcast after that happens. I'm banking on that.
How about multiple wins? How about, let's be more specific. What are they right now? What's their record?
2 and something, 2 and a shitload of losses.
So you want them to get 9 or 10 more wins, just so you're not the worst team in NBA history.
Sure. I mean, let's start with 1 though. Maybe that would be cool. That's not going to change any of the mounting signs that this is a grossly mismanaged organization that has a coach that is maybe not the right coach, and they paid 78 millions for him. I was going to say paid $1 million. Like when I say, this guy scored 1 million points, to be hyperbolic. No, 78 millions for Monty Williams. 78.5. I mean, who's counting? That's an in-season tournament victory fee right there, that $500,000. It's not going to change. Cade Cunningham maybe isn't a top option, which isn't great. It's not going to change that Jaden Ivey remains marginalized. It's not going to change that Killian Hayes looks like a miss, even though they continue to play him. It's not going to change all this other structural stuff, all this ideological stuff. It's not going to change the fact that you've been rebuilding for the better part of a half decade, and you might just need to start all the way over again. But you got to get a win. Get a win. Let's start there. Maybe get a couple more, and we can, if nothing else, if they get a win, at least we're not just constantly talking about them as how long is it going to go on? Because then we can lump them back in with the San Antonios and Washingtons and whoever else really slides the rest of the way. Because right now it's Detroit is just singularly bad, and you just don't want to be that.
The Denver Nuggets, So since we already talked about this, I'll go a different way, but I think you want Aaron Gordon to continue hitting his free throws and his threes. You'd like him to, I'd wish for him to nudge up that 3-point volume, basically under 2 attempts per 36 minutes while he's been hitting them over his past 5 games. I would also say it'd be nice if they could get sort of a different backup big option from, because Zeke Naji, we know, is not it. DeAndre Jordan, you can't rely on for big minutes anyway. Playing small isn't necessarily an option with the way that this team is built. We mentioned a lot about, Bismack Biyombo was doing nothing. This should have been a team that probably looked at Bismack Biyombo, even though he's not huge. I know he doesn't necessarily play their style. Can they get, if Memphis decides to kind of sell Xavier Tillman, not really their style anyway, but just someone who could eat some regular season innings. That's what I would wish for, because I'm very much, we mentioned this in a previous podcast, I'm so unconcerned about the Nuggets not being the best team in the West. I'm just like, to me, they are my title pick. They remain my team to beat. I've seen nothing from them that makes me think that they just won't be there at the forefront of everything when it matters most. And a lot of the issues that we're going to harp on are the same from last season, but they apply to so many teams where it's like, well, they're really relying on their 5 best players. Yeah, no fucking shit.
Guess who's going to be on the floor when they're trying to win a title? Those guys. They should rely on them.
Whoa, Peyton Watson's not going to be closing games for them over Kentavious Caldwell-Pope or Michael Porter Jr. I guess maybe, but
Peyton Watson did get a TV commercial with Nikola Jokic. Did you see this? They're walking a pony through a hotel.
Calvin Booth definitely negotiated that for him.
Oh yeah, great agent by Peyton Watson's agent. Good job.
This is the Dallas Mavericks. They need, or should wish for, more two-way supporting cast members. And I would say maybe the answer could be on the roster. We just haven't seen a lot of Maxi Kleber, but I feel like we say that every season. We haven't seen a lot of Maxi Kleber. Grant Williams has stopped hitting threes. And I think Mavs fans are now finding out that, he's not a wing stopper on defense, even though that's how the free agency signing was. He's just someone who can switch. Awesome. You have Derek Jones Jr. He is starting to come back to solid ground when you look at his 3-point shooting. We talked about Dante Exum previously. He's been a mega bright spot. The driving kicks are good. He can attack in space. His threes are falling. Defenses don't give a shit. And you need someone, a two-way. So basically you need someone who defenses give a shit about on offense, who will nudge up your own defense. Preferably can defend the point of attack, or at least some wing guys. It's tough for them because they can only trade one real first round pick. They're not going to be in an OG Anunoby sweepstakes. Could they be in a Jayshawn Tate sweepstakes as someone on that level? Perhaps. Does that even, could they get a Najee Marshall? Is that even someone who fixes what ails them? You just want to find more two-way supporting cast members for this team. They're also just injuries again have skewed some of it, and Kyrie Irving has missed a bunch of time. Luka's playing spectacular right now, but you're almost threatening to run him aground with how much you're leaning on him. So this could be, look, it doesn't need to be a mega splash, but this is a team that should be calling about Marcus Smart. They should be calling about Jeremy Grant. I don't know if I did mention Kyle Kuzma for them on another podcast. That, they probably have the ammo to get that done if those teams are looking for 1 first-round pick in return.
Yeah, I like it. All right, are you ready? It's going to be a dead
sprint. A whole lot of Grant. This is what I live for.
Because the alphabet, for some reason, skews Eastern Conference towards the beginning of it. The alphabetical list of teams. The Cleveland Cavaliers need a break, and not a break as in Darius Garland's jaw, which is part of the reason he's going to be out at least a month. Evan Mobley, surgery. We talked about this on a previous pod, 68 weeks on his left knee. This starting lineup that we love so much with the addition of Max Strus, just right smack in there between the Mitchell Garland backcourt, Mobley Allen frontcourt, made all the sense in the world. 304 possessions for those guys, and that number will not be climbing for a considerable amount of time. I was looking for this report on it when we were talking earlier. This is from Shams and Joe Varden of The Athletic. If the Cavs season is to be derailed by these 2 lengthy injuries to key players, the rest of the league will immediately turn toward the shores of Lake Erie to see if Mitchell is available even earlier. That's like a bum.
When did that? I didn't see that. When did they tweet that?
It was, I don't know, long enough ago that I put it in our piece and
so I was wondering, I missed that because I was wondering why you were talking about Donovan Mitchell trades on our last pod. I was like, I didn't think Grant was going to be the one that went this route. But
no, you know me, I don't want to start talking about trades unless we absolutely have to.
Yeah, whenever we're planning podcasts, you just want to do trades. That's all you want to talk about.
It's just my life. So it feels to me like the vultures are circling, and yeah, it's just because some team, or several teams come in with these predatory, hey, you know it and I know it, Donovan Mitchell doesn't want to be there. Everyone's been clear on that from the moment you traded for him. Let me take him off your hands now for, 60 cents on the dollar for what you gave up to get him. Like, just because that may happen doesn't mean the Cavs have to just acquiesce and do it. But like, it sucks that that's where we are already. And it's because injuries have like raised this like aura of like vulnerability around this team all of a sudden. It didn't help
Aura
that they
of vulnerability. Man, you're turning some nice phrases
it's
tonight.
getting late, Dan. I think I'm
Shout
getting
out
a little dummy brained right now. But it doesn't help that like the team itself just wasn't performing well, regardless of who's on the floor for most of this year. But the Cavs just need some better luck. Maybe that's a faster recovery timeline. Maybe that's Donovan Mitchell coming out and saying like, I'm committed, even though nobody will believe him, but just something
also
positive like that.
There's been no indication that he wants out.
It's all assumptions, but it's like, it's been loud and consistent enough for as far as the speculation goes that it's like, it's not nothing that he wants to be in New York, right? Like there's some foundation to that, I think.
He doesn't play. He didn't go to Villanova, so he has no chance of ending up in New York.
Yeah, right. He should get like an honorary master's or something, or get like a graduate degree so that he can fit in with the Knicks. The Chicago Bulls, their wish list is headed by the need for a clarity of purpose, which is just to say like, do the right thing, fellas. Like, acknowledge where you are. Trade all your veterans. Stop this nonsense about like, well, we're interested in, guys that can help us win now. And if we get picks that are useful down the road for Zach LaVine, all the better. It's like, no. You can, good job. Kobe White's deal looks good. Dosunmu's deal looks good. Javon Carter looks good. Alex Caruso, he's valuable. Like, if you want to keep White, you want to keep Dosunmu, that's cool. They can be role players, maybe fringy starters in White's case going forward. Everybody else, like DeRozan, Vucevic, Caruso, LaVine, they got to go. You can't, this is not a core that you supplement to see like how many more wins can we squeeze out of it this year. That's been the MO for what going on like 3 years with this iteration of the team. This does not work. Like there needs to be just a sober analysis of where this team is and where it can go, and where it can go if they have all their guys healthy is like 43 wins, 44 wins, like that pace, whatever. Like we've said this it feels like we've only said one thing about this team for like the last 2 years. And I know that gets annoying, but if the narrative doesn't change, like our analysis of what's happening is not going to change. And the Bulls just need to look at the situation rationally, move off all these veterans and just start it over. And the way they're talking consistently just feels like they're not ready to acknowledge that. And so a little clarity is what they need here.
And it doesn't help that they're winning.
Right. Because you don't know which way that cuts. It should tell you that we don't need LaVine and we should trade him, but it might make them think, well, what happens when LaVine comes back? We'll just be better. Look at all these wins we got. Now we're really rolling. Not the correct lesson from this story. The Charlotte Hornets are next. A healthy LaMelo Ball. That'd be nice. We've talked about this before. It's when it's someone like him on a team like this, which is to say, we like Brandon Miller. I think I'm not ready to say I was dead wrong on Brandon Miller. He's been better than I thought he was. Ball is still just like the only surefire. This is a cornerstone type guy. They've already maxed him out. He's hurt. This team doesn't have much of anything else in terms of its like long, big picture outlook to judge. But if he's not available, like you can't really gauge, which center fits best or which wing, what types of wings do we need? What's the best type of player type for the other guard with him? Like what things do we need? What works, what doesn't work? You have some information on that. It's not like he's a rookie. You won 43 games with him as arguably your best player not that long ago. But if he's not there, it just delays a lot of the decisions that a team like this needs to make. And it just withholds information that you need to make those decisions. So we didn't do too many of these, like a healthy so-and-so, but I think this is kind of the right one for the wish list.
They need it badly.
So
they need a healthy LaMelo Ball badly.
Yeah. Rapid firing to the Brooklyn Nets. This is kind of one of my favorite ones because it still just baffles me. They need a little chaos. That is the wish list item that they should be hoping for. This is a roster with you could stop whenever, but it's like Mikal Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal, Nick Claxton, Ben Simmons, Dennis Smith Jr. Now, several of those guys have missed time, but the through line for all of them is these guys are disruptive, rangy, active defensive players. Cam Johnson, even 95th percentile in steal rate in 25 games with Brooklyn last year. Nowhere close to that this year. And so Brooklyn now is dead last in steals and opponent turnover percentage, despite this collection of players. I don't. This is another just like the Milwaukee transition defense thing. I don't understand it. I don't get how you have these guys and you get this result defensively. They're bottom 10 in deflections, 20th in loose balls recovered. They're 21st in defensive efficiency as of a couple days ago. Like that's, the overall defensive rating. Like I get it. Claxton missed some time. He's important, but like the fact that they just don't like cause problems for the opposing offense is like mystifying to me. So I don't know. I guess like try harder, guys. Like maybe is that it? Try harder. Remember, all of you guys have like 7'3" wingspans and are agile, and just go get some steals. Anything to add on that before we blaze through to the Celtics?
Nope, got nothing.
And so I segued myself. The Celtics need to blaze through this season. Their wish list item is a fast forward button. It's not quite as easy to say this after watching them just decide that the way forward against the Warriors the other night is to shoot almost 63s and just not go to the basket and not get Steph Curry fouled out when he had 5 fouls, midway through the third. The knock on the Celtics for a long time has been not that they're a jump shooting team, but that like they kind of bail you out as a defense if they're, Jason Tatum in particular just wants to shoot threes over mismatches a little too often sometimes. That said, they need a fast forward button because they just need to get to the playoffs because this top 6 is absurd. Sam Hauser is I can't get behind being worried that he's your 7th guy. That's good enough to me. Upgrade the 8th player if you don't like Peyton Pritchard, or I can't even think about who I'm forgetting to mention there. Maybe you need a bulky 3rd big, but like, let's just move on. The Celtics are good enough as they are. We don't need to play this regular season. Let's fast forward.
I do think they need to do something about the crunch time offense is still too sticky. That might come back to they're willing to settle and bail out defenses, but something just to increase, and they have the space to really increase their rim pressure too. But that would be, I'd probably wish for that.
You'd think like with Porzingis out there, it's a full 5 out. And even really with Horford, all their best lineups are just straight up 5 out lineup.
For some reason, defenses just don't treat Al Horford the same way just because he's old. And so maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, last one. We're zooming through just because I can't believe I'm talking about 6 East teams in a row. The Atlanta Hawks could go a couple ways here. I think they need a defensively dominant forward. And like maybe that was supposed to be DeAndre Hunter. Maybe it could be Jalen Johnson once he's healthy. But we've talked about it ad nauseum. This team is, routinely a bottom 10 defensive team. They're 25th this year. I think at last check, they were 21st a year ago. This offense is legit. Like it's a top 5 offense. I think that has real staying power. They just don't have someone that like there are a lot of fires to put out with Trae Young and Clint Capella, who can't really switch anymore. So you're asking a lot of your 3 or your 4. And DeJounte Murray is not the same defender he was. He's a better offensive player than he's ever been, but so that just by default, that means you need a versatile wing/forward that can, cover multiple positions, guard the point of attack, be a decent rotator and help situations down near the basket. Like that's a lot to ask. It's kind of supposed to be Hunter and it's not. So that's, it's a positional wish list item, but I think it's a pretty glaring one for them.
Back to stat padding, as we hope that Dan's weird ass microphone issues are going to hold up for it. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I have a rapid fire one. It's not really statistically involved for you. And I hope I didn't prep you that I was going to do this. So I'm going to put you on the spot like a lot. So just be prepared for that. This is called trade destinations. And I'm going to give you a player and I'm going to give you 2 teams or other. You just have to real quickly say where you want this player to go. And if it's other,
very quickly, I won't do this now. I had the same thing for you, except it was just pick your favorite destination for these guys, which I will now not do because that just steps on it too much. But
better you than me because you'll be better at this than I would have been. All right. Dan, Pascal Siakam, trade destination, Pacers, Hawks, or other?
Other. Oh, should I give the
if you got one, or you could just say those 2 you suggested are terrible, Grant, get rid of them.
No, I mean the Pacers at least make some semblance of sense. I just don't think he's the player that they need. Finding a fit for him is like incredibly difficult.
Here's what I'm going to do going forward. I'm going to remove other, and you just have to choose one of the two teams I list.
No, give me other. I'll probably have destinations from. I'll say for Siakam. Let's Chicago. Let's do
Okay.
the Zach LaVine for Siakam
Wow.
challenge trade.
Going way off the board. OG Anunoby, Kings, Thunder, or other?
Other Knicks.
Zach LaVine, Lakers, Knicks, or other?
Zach LaVine, Lakers. Yeah.
DeMar DeRozan, Heat, Lakers, or other?
Other. And I don't have a team for him. It needs to be one that's just going to generate the space necessary around him and could preferably insulate him defensively. I don't know who that is. And his money is so big that you just can't like come in and get DeMar DeRozan. I'm trying to think of teams that would have like the expiring contracts. And like he's a rental too.
Yeah.
Which makes it like doubly tough. Yeah, I do not have you know what? Utah.
Oh, that's fun.
I said get a veteran floor general.
All right, a couple more. Alex Caruso, Mavs, Thunder, other.
Other. Give me him on the Kings.
Oh, that's fun. I like that. Buddy Hield, Magic, Sixers, other.
Magic.
Kelly Olynyk, we're digging deep now. Heat, Rockets, or other.
Other Pelicans.
Okay. Let's see. We got the Steph streak broken. Real quick. Hey, Dan, rank these players by age. Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Chet Holmgren, Alperen Şengün. You can start youngest if you want and move to oldest.
The youngest is Anthony Edwards.
Incorrect.
The youngest is Alperen Şengün.
Correct.
The second youngest is Anthony Edwards.
Incorrect. He's so old.
Is he?
No.
He's 22. What was so Hallie, Anthony Edwards, and who?
Chet.
Oh, so the second youngest is Halliburton.
Nope.
Chet's the second youngest. Edwards is the third youngest. Halliburton's the oldest.
Halliburton's the oldest by like a lot. He's a full year. So Chet and Şengün are both 21. Şengün's like, I don't know, a few months younger. Edwards is 22. He's basically almost a year older than Şengün. And Halliburton is over a full year older than Edwards, almost a year and a half.
I should have known he was the oldest, and I kind of did, but I was all turned around because I was getting everything wrong. I didn't get a single spot right.
Those are always the hardest ones because once you mess up one of the ranks, you're just like on tilt afterwards. I have some more just random stuff unless you want to throw me some.
No, go through yours and then I'll get to mine.
All right. So we're talking about players that have a lot of games with 10 or more assists and 0 turnovers. And we're only doing active players, okay? So there are 6 players that are active right now that have at least 10 career games with 10 or more assists and 0 turnovers. I'll give you 3 strikes. Can you name all 6?
No, but give it a shot. Chris Paul.
Correct. Number 1 by a mile.
Tyrese Halliburton.
Correct. Number 3.
Is DeMar DeRozan on this list?
He's not. That's a good guess. I think he didn't have 10, but he was on there. He had some.
Active players with that. You said they have at least 10 games of this, or they just have the most?
All these guys have at least, I cut it off at 10. But I do have them listed as like Chris Paul's the most. He has 58. Tyrese Halliburton has 13, and he's in 3rd on this list.
Active players. Is Tyus Jones on here?
No. He was also on the list, but he wasn't over 10.
Trae Young?
No. Couple ways to
strike 3. I only got 2. That's bad.
All right. I'll give you a couple hints. The longevity aspect is like a factor here. So think guys that have played like say 20 years.
LeBron.
Yeah. He's got 11. And then like 2 of the most veteran point guards that are still like actually playing.
Dame?
No, one of them plays for the best team in the West.
Oh my God, Mike Conley.
Yeah, he's second with 14. And then I'll just give you, so Kyle Lowry has 11.
And
then Jokic has 10. He's the other guy with 10.
So can you read them off for me in case I cut them up?
Chris Paul, 58. Mike Conley, 14. Tyrese Halliburton, 13. Kyle Lowry, 11. LeBron James, 11. Nikola Jokic, 10.
Wow. I
Pretty
should have
good.
gotten more of those. 2 of 6.
All right.
That's awful.
We're going to go completely the other way now. Most career games with 0 assists and at least 5 turnovers. Okay. I just want to see if you can get like a few of them. All these guys have at least 6. The leader among active players has 10 such games.
I don't fucking know. Zach LaVine?
No, think big guys for a couple of them.
At least 5 turnovers and 0 assists. Clint Capella?
Oh no, that's a good guess though. I'm surprised he's not on here.
Rudy Gobert?
Nope.
James Wiseman?
Wouldn't it be funny if it was James Wiseman? Most career games. I'll give you one. Number 1 is Andre Drummond with 10 such games. He's had 10 games in his career with 0 assists and at least 5 turnovers. Who's another
Hassan
center?
Whiteside?
No, but you're on the right track. Like another center that is maybe infamous for making mistakes. And Shaq has a whole bit about
JaVale McGee?
Yeah, he's got 8 of these games. Let's see. I can't give you any more clues. Kevin Durant has 8 such games, believe it or not. Isn't that crazy? Rudy Gay, Eric Gordon, Brooke Lopez, and Jonas Valanciunas each have 6 such games. Why don't you take a breather and give me some? This was not a good category. These are too hard to just come up with off the top.
Oh my, yeah, that was so hard. I'm a little bit annoyed with you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not actually annoyed, but okay. So, which NBA player has more triple doubles with at least 10 blocks? You got that?
Here's what I found.
A triple double with at least 10 blocks.
Correct.
I've got it.
Okay. Hakeem Olajuwon or David Robinson?
David Robinson.
Nope. Hakeem Olajuwon 10-9.
I knew it.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Dikembe Mutombo?
I'll say Mutombo because maybe they didn't keep blocks for all of Kareem's career.
10-7 in favor of Mutombo.
Okay.
You are correct. Shaquille O'Neal or Marcus Camby?
Ooh. I don't think Camby ever got. Oh, did he need the rebound? I'll say Camby. Sneaky one.
Yes, 3-1 on Shaq. Bam Adebayo or Anthony Davis?
Davis.
That is correct. 1-0.
Ooh.
Manute Bol or Hassan Whiteside?
I'll say Manute Bol.
No, Hassan Whiteside 4-1.
Wow. Good
Draymond Green or Andre Karolinko?
Kirilenko.
Correct. 1-0. Sean Bradley or Tree Rollins?
Tree Rollins.
No, Sean Bradley 6-4. Dwight Howard or Ben Wallace?
Ben Wallace.
Correct. 2-1. Al Horford or JaVale McGee?
McGee.
Correct. 1-0. Mark Eaton or Robert Parrish?
Mark Eaton.
Yeah, not even close. 6-1. Larry Nance Jr. or Larry Nance Sr.?
Ooh, Larry Nance Sr.
Correct. 1-0. Clint Capella or Rudy Gobert?
Gobert.
No, Clint Capella 1-0.
Wow.
So this one's sort of related. Which NBA player has multiple triple doubles with at least 10 steals?
Okay.
Clyde Drexler, Michael Jordan, Draymond Green, or Fat Lever?
I have to say Fat Lever because otherwise, why is he in here?
It's not Fat Lever. He had 1. Draymond Green had 1. Michael Jordan had 0. Clyde Drexler had 2.
Wow. Good for Clyde. Okay. I just want to back up and note that you put Tree Rollins in a either or, and it wasn't Tree Rollins. I don't know if I'm ever going to forgive you for that. That and Fat Lever. I'm just always going to pick the why is Dan putting this person in this? It has to be this.
Fat Lever shows up in all the wild statistical assortments. And so I get why you would pick him.
I had to. I'll do it again.
Here's an open-ended one for you.
Okay.
There's never been a quadruple double in NBA history on record, at least. Pick one active player who would be most likely to get a quadruple double.
Oh, that's a great. Let's see. So obviously the blocks and steal. Well, I mean, it's got to be Wemby. I think I have to say Wemby just because I could see him getting the blocks or the steals really at some point. May not happen this year, but I think that has to be the pick. I don't know who else. Do you have?
I
I don't
would
know who my
go.
close second would be.
I would go with Jokic just because he'll get the rebounds, assists, and points. And then he's kind of sneaky with his hands when it comes to steals, and he's big enough to get the blocks. And I don't think Wemby's just like, he's going to have to check rebounds, steals, blocks, and points. And it's infinitely harder to have to do steals and blocks than it would be to do one of those categories.
I'll bet you he'll get some 10 assist games though. He's a good. I mean, he's flashes of being a good passer. I like Wemby because you get more cracks at it because he might do it in any of 5 categories. I guess Jokic is kind of that way too. Surprised Draymond had it without points that one time. Remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, what a missed opportunity there. Could have really got
it. His career span is going to be so short from here on. It's just got to play the odds.
That's true. Can't pick him now. You got any more?
I do have more, but did you want to wrap up yours?
I'm trying to think like how if these are all just too cruel based on the assists and turnovers thing. All right, how about this? Dan, who has the most career games with at least 30 points and 0 assists? Rudy Gay, Klay Thompson, Kristaps Porzingis, or Anthony Davis?
I'm going to say Klay Thompson.
Close. He's second. It's Anthony Davis. Has 16 games with at least 30 points and 0 assists. Klay has 10, Porzingis 9, Rudy Gay 8.
That was a good one.
I have another one. Most 30-point games with 0 assists. DeMar DeRozan, Karl Anthony Towns, Kevin Durant, or Kelly Oubre?
I'm going to say Kevin Durant.
Close again. He has 7. DeMar DeRozan has 8. Cat has 5. Oubre 3.
That's wild.
Let's see here. I think I had one more. I just need to make sure all right. Okay. We're going to ratchet it up a little bit here. So one of these 4 players has a game with 50 plus points and 0 assists. Who is it? Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Giannis.
Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Giannis. Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry. All right, so I've narrowed it down to 2. I'm going to say Klay Thompson.
You are correct. Same question. 50 points or 50 plus points, no assists. Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, Buddy Hield, Joel Embiid.
50 plus points, no assists.
No
Buddy
assists.
Hield, Joel Embiid. Who are the other 2?
Kyrie, Kevin Love.
Is it Kyrie?
It's Kevin Love.
Damn.
In like 2011. Going way back.
Wow, I don't remember that. Kyrie just felt like he couldn't be the answer, so I was like, it's got to be him.
Last one, same question. 50 points or more, no assists. DeMar DeRozan, Brandon Jennings, Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic. Apparently this is the Bulls edition because 3 of the 4 are Bulls.
Yeah, who was the non-Bull?
Jennings. You know he had 55 in a game. Did he have an assist in that game?
I'm going to say DeMar DeRozan.
It is LaVine. Zach LaVine. I think LaVine might have done it this year. I can't remember.
I was surprised you didn't have Melo on there. Didn't he drop like 60 without an assist? Did you know I was going to know that one? Unless he had an assist.
I didn't come across. I don't think he did that. I was sorted for 50 plus with no assists unless I blew it on the research.
No, you might be right. Maybe he did have an assist that game.
By accident, probably. Anything else I want to... That's all I got.
Okay. Which NBA player has never recorded a 50-point triple-double? Kareem, Abdul-Jabbar, Elgin Baylor, James Harden, or Michael Jordan?
Never recorded a 50-point triple-double.
Correct.
I'm going to go completely counter to all logic and say Michael Jordan has never registered a 50-point triple-double.
That is correct.
Sometimes you got to play the question.
Which NBA player has never recorded a 50-point triple-double? Wilt Chamberlain, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, or Russell Westbrook?
I'm going to say LeBron.
That is correct again. Nice job.
Figured these out.
Okay, which NBA player never had a 40-point triple-double? Larry Bird, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, or LeBron James?
I'm going to say Larry Bird.
That is incorrect. He had 2. LeBron and Michael Jordan each had 5. Kobe had 0.
Wow. Okay.
That was the one I thought you were going to get, by the way. Isn't that weird?
Well, I galaxy brained that one, I think.
Okay, ready?
Ready.
Is this my last? Yeah, it's a long block though. There's 15 of which of these players. So do you need to like take a breath?
Nope. I'm just diving in.
Which NBA player has more 40-point triple doubles for their career? Oscar Robertson or James Harden?
I gotta say Oscar Robertson.
That is correct. It's not even close. 22-16. Wilt Chamberlain or Russell Westbrook?
I have to say Wilt, but I'm worried that they didn't track all the stats.
Right. On record, it's Russell Westbrook 13-7.
Okay.
Luka Doncic or LeBron James?
40-point triple doubles. LeBron.
No, Luka 8-5.
Wow.
Michael Jordan or Isaiah Thomas of the Detroit Pistons?
It's got to be Michael Jordan.
That is correct. 3-1. I just wanted to tie those two together.
Surprised it's only 3.
Nikola Jokic or Jerry West?
Jokic.
That is correct. 5-1. DeMarcus Cousins or David Robinson?
I'm going to say Cousins.
No, David Robinson, 2-1.
Damn it.
Joel Embiid or Bam Adebayo?
Embiid.
Correct. 1-0. Bradley Beal or Damian Lillard?
Ooh. I'll say Beal.
That is correct. 2-0. Bradley Beal turns up on all these scoring ones. It's wild.
It's amazing. Yeah. Those couple years in Washington, he really got up to some things.
Larry Bird or Magic Johnson?
Magic.
No, Larry Bird, 2-1.
Ooh.
Paul George or Kawhi Leonard?
I'll say Kawhi.
Nope. Paul George, 1-0.
Ouch.
Jason Kidd or Pete Maravich?
I'll say Maravich. He scored more.
Yep, 3-0. Karl Malone or Chris Webber?
Ooh. I'll say Chris Webber.
That's correct. You know I would never pick terrible human being Karl Malone as an answer anyway. DeMar DeRozan or Tracy McGrady?
McGrady.
That is correct. 1-0. Elgin Baylor or Bernard King?
Bernard King.
No, Elgin Baylor, 3-1.
Ouch.
You did really well. I'd have to go back out of the 15, but I think you got more than half.
I feel like I got like maybe 8 or 9 of them. I feel good about that.
Yeah, some of those were tough.
A lot of 40-point triple. Although, like, I say a lot of them, but like this 3-1, 2-1, 1-0 with all those names, it's kind of amazing. There were so few.
Were you mad I sprinkled in some players that had none in there?
No, it's all fair. I just asked, what did I ask you? Guys with 0 assists and 5 turnovers.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, if anybody's mad, it can't be me.
Did you want to do the trade exercise on your end?
Hell no. I'm terrible at these. I'll never come up with a good team.
There was though one player that you didn't mention that I could give you.
You know what? Give me your 3 favorite ones. Let's do it that way.
Okay, give me the best trade destination for these top NBA trade targets. OG Anunoby.
I think I've said like 5 different teams for him. I want most for OG Anunoby to be on the Sacramento Kings.
Larry Markkinen.
Can we get him on the Thunder? Even if that's not necessarily what they need. That's a lot of fun.
Pascal Siakam.
We've said it several times. I don't know where you send him. Let's put him on the Pacers. How about that?
I think he at least functionally can fit there. He's so good, but he's so tough to fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and would you want him in San Antonio with Wemby?
Not really. I mean, like, I don't know what he does he's certainly not like a long-term fit there. You know, it's not, I don't know how he, like, what does he do that helps Wemby, like, be the best Wemby? You know, I'm not sure.
Knowing that they have a couple of their ball handlers entering free agency and they have a big contract they could send back attached to stuff, what do you think about Siakam in Brooklyn?
Brooklyn is low-key a like a sensible trade destination for so many guys. I do think he would fill a need there. How do you like him as the 4 with Claxton at the 5? Do
I
you?
don't. It's better than Ben Simmons and Claxton, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that'd be better than Ben Simmons. Yeah, you get more spacing with Siakam, but I mean, this year, Siakam's 3-point shot has kind of abandoned him. I keep thinking of them as, because I forget where I heard it, but like as a Donovan Mitchell destination in Brooklyn. You know what? Oh, here's what I can't believe we didn't talk about this already. If you send Mitchell to Brooklyn, which is like, okay, that's fine, but you send back, like, you probably can't get Bridges, but if you could get Bridges to Cleveland, I feel like that just fits so perfectly.
Now, I think you would probably have to be willing to trade Evan Mobley to make that happen.
You don't think Mitchell and stuff gets you Bridges?
No. Well,
I think
what is the stuff? They don't have stuff.
You get Mitchell and wait, are you trading Mitchell with picks to get Bridges? That feels like that feels bizarre to me.
Well, you said Mitchell and stuff.
Well, because you didn't like Mitchell for Bridges as a starting point.
Well, because it's like, if you're the Nets, it's so different. You have to augment what you have. And so you're basically saying like Donovan Mitchell, and then it's okay, I guess we keep Nick Claxton and we roll forward.
Well, it's wild that we live in a world now where Mikal Bridges is theoretically a more valuable asset than Donovan Mitchell. But I guess part of that is like, if you're the Nets, you're just hoping that Mitchell's like, well, it's New York. That's cool. At least it's not the Knicks. But yeah, I don't know. I can't get past the idea that like you'd have to give up Mitchell with something to get Bridges. I guess maybe that's true, but I don't know. We should crowdsource this somehow.
We have to. Well, we should do an entire episode where we just go through the list of mega trade targets and pick our favorite destination for them. But can you do a couple more that weren't on your list just to see where you put? You obviously had OG and Pascal on yours.
Yes.
Bogdanovich.
Oh, who needs like a stretchy 4? I feel like we've talked about where he should go, and I can't remember what I thought.
I do have a favorite one. I don't know if it's like on course with what they would do, but I would love him on the Lakers.
Yeah, I think that could work. I mean, like Dallas would be one I wouldn't mind.
Dallas might be. Do you think Dallas could be a sneaky Pascal Siakam destination?
Yeah, I mean, like if you knew that Kleba was going to be back and healthy, and Grant Williams was going to, be more like the first 4 weeks of the season, Grant Williams, you might not go after it. But Dallas, like, I mean, they went and got Kyrie, so like anything's on the table. But if you do that, you have to keep Siakam, and so now your core is Luka, Kyrie, and Siakam. I'm not sure like that. Actually, I don't hate that fit, but Siakam would just need to make more threes because his role will be different.
Yeah, and more screen and rolling for sure.
Yeah.
But then he's going to play Derek Lively. I don't know if he's going out in that trade.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because maybe the optimal version of Siakam is he plays like a fair amount of center, and if you really believe in Lively, like maybe use close with Siakam at center some. I could see that in like a playoff scenario, but I don't know if I love it.
So the teams I have listed for Bogdan, and you can tell me if you don't like any of them. I have New Orleans.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oklahoma City.
Just in the Giddy spot, basically. Someone that can make
like get Giddy out of there. Yeah, he's coming off the bench. Or just Bogdan in the closing, like that closing 5. I guess you're still small, but the offensive juice.
Yeah.
Orlando.
I do like Orlando. I thought about that as just saying that for my favorite destination. It's just like, how are you fitting him with Banchero and Franz? Like, is he playing the 3? Is he playing the 2? Like, he's just
just because those two can run your offense. Like, you could play Suggs, Bogdan, Paolo, Franz, and Wendell Carter Jr.
Yeah, that's true. That's kind of what a big. I mean, that defense would be fine. Like, you got no problems there. Yeah, that's a big lineup too. Big is back.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, Philadelphia makes a lot of sense. Just as like, although is he just in the Tobias Harris spot basically? I think he's. I mean,
you could do a lot of mixing and matching depending on, do you want to play smaller with Melton and Maxey on the court, and then you have Bogdanovich with Joel Embiid, and you could still have Tobias Harris on the court, or is Nicholas Batum on the floor? A lot of different stuff you could do.
they suddenly would just be loaded with wings and forwards because you still got Oubre, right? Like, and you got Covington's kicking around there still.
I have 3 more teams because I think he fits in so many places.
Okay, let's hear it.
So just if they're not going to pivot into starting over, he makes a lot of sense. Toronto, if they decide they want to move forward with this core.
I mean, he's, if only because he's so different from like all of the players that they already have. He's like a skill-based, like shooter, slasher, passer, like that. They just don't have that guy.
And then the other one was, I know he doesn't necessarily fit with their timeline, but San Antonio.
Just as like a pressure relief valve, basically, like on offense.
Well, if they're not going to start Trey Jones anyway, start Bogdanovich and have him run point for all I care.
Yeah, that works. Either Bogdanovich, really. It's funny, like anywhere. Strangely, if Bogdan fits, Bojan fits. I don't know why. They're different players at different positions, but if you like one, you like the other at that spot, I think.
And then the final player that I'll stop with that wasn't on your list, Emmanuel Quickley.
Man, I just like, well, okay. So Toronto, just go be the lead guard, maybe.
Would they pay him? So now you're going to pay.
Well, right. Let's just add another guy we could lose.
Probably be part of the OG trade, but he definitely works with Barnes.
I'm trying to think where else I would like him.
I probably have 3 actually.
Did you mention Minnesota already?
No, I just don't think they have the asset glitz to get him.
Probably not. Yeah. Which ones do you like?
Utah. He could play with Keontae.
Yeah.
Keontae, sorry. I'm naming wines. He can play with Bordeaux. He can play with a Syrah.
Bordeaux Bogdanovich. That's the third Bogdanovich.
San Antonio, they just have, this was tipped to, I was talking about this with Mort from the NBA pod. Like an interesting trade. I don't know if the Knicks would do it, but if you gave up that Raptors first for Emmanuel Quickley,
and then just like this is our guy, probably, which is like not the craziest thing to do if you're the Spurs, as just keep him around.
I think it's absurd by Spurs standards, right?
To give up a first that might be like the number 7 pick because it's top.
Not even that, but just like, we're going to trade for this guy who we immediately have to pay a bunch of money.
Well, right. Yeah. They tend to operate from like, we want to have guys that we have leverage over. I think
I thought you were going to get, actually, I probably have 2 more. We'll just name them for everybody, but like, he'd make some sense in the Giddey spot. You know,
who wouldn't at this point?
He gets up threes. He defends. He can pass a little bit, does more. He's going to be more of a threat from the in-between. Finally, I think this might be my favorite one. Orlando.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, what'd you say? He's getting up 11 threes per 36 or something like that?
Or 11 per 100.
Per 100. Yeah. Just like if on the thinking that just get someone in there in the backcourt that like, as soon as he touches it, the defense is like, oh shit, it's going up. Like that is the type of player I think that could really unlock some things for them. I like that a lot.
I'm going to do, this isn't really a spoiler because you won't know the order. I'm going to do one where it's a whole bunch of trade targets and you have to pick your favorite destination, but you can't reuse it. So once you pick the team, if a better one comes up, you can't pick them.
You can't burn it. I feel like that's like, you need to strategize that.
Maybe that entire podcast, we just pick our top 30 trade targets, organize them. Maybe one of us organize them. You could do that to me, reorganize them, or I could do it to you. And then, but you can't reuse it. So it's just like, without knowing who comes next.
So at some point it'll be like, yeah, I think, I don't know, Gordon Hayward has to go to the Pistons or something.
I actually like Gordon Hayward on the Pistons.
I know that was a bad hypothetical. I was trying to think of the wrong team and I came up with a good one. This is why I'm not good at the trade stuff.
Well, honestly, name a team that Gordon Hayward, just because he's on an expiring contract, just like wouldn't make it. I guess the Celtics, because they have to give up Kristaps to get him. Basically,
yeah, right. Yeah, somewhere where you just, because of the salaries, you would just be worse for having him. But yeah, like the player type fits everywhere. Just a big forward or combo forward that can pass, basically.
God, I love stat padding. So much fun.
Except for when I give you 10 assists and 0 turnover.
No, it was a fun kind of frustrating because it makes me feel so shitty about myself.
Oh, so that's the goal. I mean, that's right. The whole point of stat padding. We good?
You want to take us out of here? Yeah.
Sure.
We just dropped like 4 hours of content,
So
4
much
pods this week
content.
too, with the interview I did on top of Alex Squadron. Like we got content up.
So much pod content for everyone's holiday enjoyment. This is our gift to you. I hope it was on your wish list to just circle all the way back.
Wow, way to be topical.
Yeah,
you're on fire tonight with the turns of phrases and segues. Man,
I really, I'm so tired that like
it's almost midnight your time. I feel bad.
If you asked me tomorrow, like, hey, what was the pod about? I'm just really going to struggle to remember what we talked about, which is great because then it's all new to me every time we talk. Everybody that has made it this far. Oh, I say it like you're also listening to this close to midnight and you're as tired as we are. It's probably like 9 a.m. wherever people are listening to this. Thank you for doing that whenever it happens to be that you're listening to us. We always appreciate it. We also appreciate if you, wherever you consume podcasts, rate us highly, 5 stars, positive reviews, thumbs up, subscriptions, upvoting when there are downvotes, making thumbs up, signs just into the air for good vibes. That's all great. Follow us on our socials at HardwoodKnocks, Twitter and TikTok, Hardwood_Knocks on Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube if I didn't already mention that. Check out our merch and join our Discord, which is where we cull just reams and reams of stat padding material, for which we are eternally grateful. The links to do that are in the YouTube and podcast description. I think that covers it. Have a happy holiday season. If it's already past the holidays when this goes up, I hope it was great and that you have a healthy and happy new year. We'll probably do another pod before that, but well wishing is always, there's never too much of it. We wish the one and only Frank Ntilikina well, and we also apologize to Jared Allen.